Hi everyone, I'm Trasan.
And I'm Roberta.
And this is The Globe Speaks.
So today we have a wonderful guest. We've been trying to get him on for a while now. But I'm finally glad that we can get him here. We've got...
Yeah, it's the right time.
It is the right time. Yes. And especially since we're talking about Moses, we have our very own Dr. Moses, who is an elder in our church.
Yes.
Welcome. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Yes, we're definitely...
I was not looking forward to today, but
no.
I'm here now.
Okay.
He's here and he's not leaving.
Amen. We hope you don't leave now. Yeah. So we have been, if you've been tuning into our videos, we have been just going through the Bible, talking about Bible characters in the Bible, just to see what they were like, what their story was, and how God's relationship was like with them, and if any, do they have any link with Jesus later on or anything like that, and what lessons can we learn from their story as well. And this topic that we're discussing is Moses, so it's very fitting that we have Dr. Moses here with us to discuss this. So I'll just ask you, the first question is, do you remember your first time hearing about Moses in the Bible, like his story?
Yeah, I would say at a very young age.
Okay.
Apparently the story is that the name was given to me by a distant uncle.
Interesting.
And so when I got into school, it was almost like a jest. People started saying, "You are Moses, they drew you out of water." And I felt a bit uncomfortable. And then coincidentally, my middle name also has to do with water or rain, so I don't quite know, because my name in my native language is actually means literally morning rain. And I came to discover as I grew older that my mom deliberately gave me that name. Apparently on the day I was born, it was supposedly rain in the morning. And there's this belief that when rain falls in the morning, it falls on a lot of people. So my mom thought, okay, this is a blessing. Whatever affects, rain affects everybody, not just the person in the morning. Because in the morning, most everybody goes out to work or go to different places. When it rains in the evening, most people are at home, but in the morning,
everybody gets it. So I need to ask you then, do you like the rain? Do you like the sea, ocean, water? Can you swim? Yes.
That's very interesting.
I tried many years ago to swim when I was doing my research, but after a while, I gave up on swimming and I started playing tennis, which I don't do much of now. I tried very hard to try to play golf, but never took off. So I suppose it's not a matter of rain. I think I understand the meaning of my middle name better now. So I'm not as rebellious as I was. Was found out. So if I had my way now, but for being in this part of the world, that's a name I would prefer people call me rather than Moses, because I now understand the symbolic meaning of the name.
Well, that's a good snapshot into your middle name as well. But today we are focusing on Moses.
They are not too far apart. They both have water connected to them.
We'll get to that actually. So speaking of, you said that you remember reading the story at a young age.
No, I didn't. I just said when we started going to school, people started calling me Moses.
That's how you...
it became like a jest, and then I realized, this is actually a biblical name.
I see.
And then of course I then went to a Catholic primary school, which I would say
more information there. So what were your first views upon when you finally came to know the story of Moses? Did you have any impression, or what was your first views about him as a character or his story in general?
No, I don't think I had any. Like I said, because of it was like a jest, it sounded negative. But as I grew older, I began to understand that it's a name worth having, and a name you should try to live up to and aspire to be like. So with Moses' story, we get to see the water reference. I'll go into it. We briefly talked in our previous video about Moses, being chosen by God to lead his people out of Egypt, out of the oppression,
and slavery and all those things. And one of the ways that God did this was through Moses, told him to point the staff at the Nile, the Red Sea, the Nile, sorry, and it split it open so that the people could walk on dry land. So the water reference there. So
can I put another water one? Because even before that, Roberta, when he was born, like the Pharaoh was killing all of the firstborn sons, and his midwife saved him, and his mom hid him in a water basket on the water. And then what did we say? The Pharaoh's
daughter.
Pharaoh's daughter came, saw it, and then she drew him out. And I think the name Moses has something to mean like being drawn out of water.
Yeah, it has something to do with drawn out of water. Some yes, but some translation we say means drawing out. Because Moses was actually like the one that drew the Israelites out of Egypt.
I see.
So most people think literally it's drawn out.
Okay.
But the other actual meaning is drawing out.
Okay.
So the one that draws the people out of slavery.
So speaking of that, then do you see any similarities between? I know the name is similar, but do you see any similarities between you as a person and Moses that we read about in? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm going to try to be a bit as humble as I can.
Yeah,
when I try to look at this story, with the life of Moses.
Yeah.
When people ask me, I would normally say that I come from a humble background.
Okay.
But I had a privileged upbringing.
I see.
So I see a similarity with Moses.
Yeah.
So I got selected when I was under 10 to go to a select school in my country.
Okay.
So it was like drawing me out of my locality into, in my time then, would be a prestigious school.
The palace, like Moses was
exactly. So with my background, I wouldn't have been able to find myself in the boarding house at that early age.
Yeah.
So I ended up in the boarding house before I was 10, and subsequently completed my secondary school in the boarding house.
I see.
So I would have had to be the son of a permanent secretary, a senior military officer at the time, to have had the privilege to attend that kind of school.
Wow, interesting. Because that is very much a similarity for me. It's uncanny that you see Moses being as Israelite, which should have been a slave, but having the opportunity to grow up and learn from Pharaoh and the Egyptians as well. Yeah.
So again, that's one leg of the story.
Okay.
If we take it to the next leg.
Yes.
If we take it to the next leg, I was then able to, again, go through my secondary school. Was able to then go to university. Yeah. All on scholarship.
Okay.
And literally spent 1 year, which is compulsory what we call National Youth Service. And then I came straight to the UK again on scholarship. I could never have had that opportunity with my background.
Literally, this is very
so that's why I was not looking forward to today. It was almost like writing my autobiography. Because,
you need to write one now.
So that's it. But if I then stretch it a bit further, now that we want the question to them. So I then came here, finished my research, and then was working. And I'm going to draw a similarity with Moses. And at a point my company at the time wanted me to go back to Nigeria and start up the office of my company. And at the time it was like, a lot of people didn't think it made sense, Koshi, you live in Koshi, UK, you want to go back to Africa, things like that. But I just...
Can I pause you right there? Yeah. Because this is the other link. Because Moses then flees from Israel, flee from Egypt, goes into the wilderness in Midian, and then God calls him through the burning bush to go back.
So it's...
Continue. So did he go back to Nigeria?
I did go back.
Parallelism.
But I did go back. I did go back. Again, talking about Moses, so by the time I had to go back, I literally only had maybe 2 years or so of leadership management experience.
Okay.
So like Moses, I had some trepidation.
I cannot speak. All of these questions about me.
So you haven't got business training. I did PhD in engineering, limited leadership and management experience, and you are being told go back and head the company as managing director. So there was that trepidation. So but I did go back, and then of course things did happen. 2 years later, I did have some disagreement in business, and I suppose my first P would be probably need to see this recording. And I think this was 2000. I'd gone back in 2002.
Okay.
And then of course the arrangement didn't quite work out. And in 2004, I was thinking of coming back because I had a young family.
Yeah.
I only had my first daughter at the time. And then my PA at the time came to me and she said, "Oh, why do you want to go back? Do you know the meaning of your name?"
She knew something was up. She could tell there's something here.
Something's working.
And she said, "Do you know the meaning of it?" I said, "Oh, Moses, you know that." But I didn't take her serious. I just thought, oh, why is she saying this? Because I was thinking, sometimes you go on a journey and you think, this is not working out. So I shouldn't have gone in the first place. Now, this opportunity for me to just come back and start my life, So she encouraged me. And she, again, what I didn't say was that, like I said, I acquired some skills which was relevant at the time I went to Nigeria. In my industry at the time, a lot of things were done by what we call expats, foreigners and stuff.
We go back,
You normally had to get people from here to go and do things in Africa and stuff. So for me, it became an opportunity to start my own business, and I can say that. To the glory of God, by the time I left, there was some kind of leading my people out of Egypt.
No, you don't need to be humble about that one. Come on, you can say it. I love that. So many similarities. And as you were speaking, actually, I wanted to just ask. So, with God, because from what we know of you, like you have a position in our current church as an elder right now. So would you say at that time you talked also about like there were times where your weaknesses, that you had like that doubt in your mind about whether am I suitable to do this job? So in your relationship, did you feel like you had something there with like God to help you? Like how did you connect with God at any point at that time, or did you? I don't know.
What's your journey?
This story would not be complete if I don't bring in Bishop. Bishop was aware at the time I had to go to Nigeria, and of course it was, as usual, Bishop is very encouraging. But one thing I've come to, in life, talking about Moses, one thing that I've come to realize is that you can't rely on all of your strengths and on your weaknesses.
Okay.
There are times you have to depend on God.
Of course.
To make the difference. Because most times what I tell people, in the business what they talk about, what they call the SWOT, strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. So sometimes you have your own weakness. You need to find somebody that can complement your strength. And then of course, like you say, I remember now very profoundly, almost all the time, Proverbs 3:5-6.
Okay.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge the Lord and He will direct your paths. Again, with a bit of humility, sometimes when you think you're intelligent, there's a tendency to think that you can do things by yourself. But the earlier you realize that you need God in the picture,
it humbles you really quickly.
It humbles you quickly. It humbles you, not just that, it helps you to actually actualize. That yes, it's not just I can not do everything on my own, but I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. So you learn to have a place for God in your plan. I suppose when you look at the life of Moses, by the first time he tried to deliver the people, the Israelites, on his own, not in God's timing, and then he fled. But it was quite interesting to know that God saw that he had a passion to do this. And so when God was looking for somebody to deliver the Israelites. He knew that that guy tried to do this thing before on his own. If I back him up now, we will have a success story.
That's very interesting.
When you walk with God, then you get to the success of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, Moses' own journey wasn't always smooth with God as well, right? Like there was a time when Moses decided, I don't know to take it on again, but basically God told Moses, speak to the rock, and Moses decided to strike the rock instead.
Like that. I mean,
And a consequence of that was that he couldn't enter the promised land. How do you see Moses? How do you see God? What's happening here?
I think it's easy to focus on that failing, but you will also see that before then he had been patient with the people.
I was going to say.
You know, he had gone up waiting on God for days and stuff, and he comes back. And these people are making gods unto themselves. He tells somebody to go and spy. The person comes back with good stuff, and they are saying, "Oh, we don't believe this. We should go back to Egypt." And you know, and then he says, "Okay, you guys will roam here for 40 years until you all die out, and the people that will go to see the promised land." You know, but but going back to Moses, then you see what that kind of things, what that kind of experience tells you is that you need to be patient to the end. You know, because again, it's difficult to say it's struck the rock, but I understand when they did do that. So when you look at that kind of person, and the lesson you learn is learn to manage yourself, perseverance, patience. You know, and then of course, if you are mindful that that's what Moses did, that made him not to see the promised land. Somebody like me, very mindful, and say, "Oh goodness me, I need to be mindful when I find myself in situations like that." You know, you look at sometimes frustration set in, but you have to learn to manage your frustration. You know, and then of course, with people like me that have that kind of me, try to say, "Oh goodness, man, I hope I'm not becoming the Bible, the Moses in the Bible."
In their leadership times, were there moments where you thought, "Well, actually, I need to mind myself here," because
and I just want to quickly add, that's actually inspired me, because now that I see Jesus in a different light, in terms of like, I like how you're saying like you are mindful of Moses' actions. I guess mainly because maybe you relate to Moses in that sense that you know you share the same thing. And for me, I'm like, okay, I see that. Okay, if Jesus, I'm still gonna be like Jesus or follow Jesus. I can relate to Jesus in that way. Like, oh, now I can apply what he's saying. Oh, be calm, be patient, things like that. I see like how we're comparing ourselves to the characters can actually benefit us as well. Like, you know what I mean?
Because we're all striving to be like Jesus in the end as well. But,
so you said something about when you meet obstacles. I told you that we had this agreement. I didn't tell you the details. If I told you the details, you will know that they were rough patches and bumpy rides. You know, so we don't have enough time to tell the whole story. You know, but what's important to take away is that you look at the life of Moses. You know, it killed an Egyptian, and when he was trying to kill another an Hebrew, somebody do it a second time. He was found and he fled. You know, how many people will be bold enough to go back to where they fled from?
I would say.
Because God says go back there. Because what will be occurring to you is, oh goodness me, this place that I ran away from. What is my safety now? Because someone's going back to imminent danger. So it requires a lot of faith and courage. You know, it's because you can say, oh, God told him to go. But it was human. It will still be evident that, oh, I fled from this place, and God is asking me to return. You know, exactly the same way I felt, but not in the same degree. I left Nigeria to come here to study, and I didn't plan to go back to Nigeria. And then somebody comes and says, oh, we want to do something, you are going back. And I'm going to say, oh God, the place I left behind. And there are people were asking me, is something wrong with you? You know, why are you going back there? You left there. You know, you left there to have comfort. You know, you want to go back. You know, so those things do happen.
They do happen. I mean, we've been talking about Moses, and that's very inspiring about him as well, and seeing his obedience. But what can we learn from God in his interaction with Moses? Is there any lessons that we can take there?
For me, I think I will look at it more from the lessons as far as it affects Moses. You know, I think in the 40 years of tutelage under his father-in-law, Moses would have had time grew matured, you begin to understand that maybe God works in a different way. Okay. You also see that he was debating with God until God said, okay, that Aaron, your brother,
take him with you.
If you're not eloquent, okay, take him. You know, that's what I was talking about, understanding your strength and weakness. You know, Moses could have realized, and so my brother is there, my brother is eloquent. You know, he could have just said, God, can you ask Aaron to go with me? You know, but it was so short-sighted, you know. So the lesson we should learn is when God is asking us to do something, remember the Moses and say, okay, I might be even like a Moses in this scenario. Should I be asking God, what is your purpose in this? You know, it's like the experience of Mary and Elizabeth. You know, one was willing to accept that this was going to happen.
I was like, what? Me?
Elizabeth's husband was trying to be a meddlesome interloper. And then they told him that she was made to be dumb until something happens. So the lesson we learn from biblical characters is what are their weaknesses, what are weaknesses, what were their strengths, and how can we capitalize on those? You know, when we find ourselves in position of leadership, you know, not always be afraid. Oh, I can't do this. You know, I was reading Word for Today, and it says, stop saying I can't. You know, because most people's vocabulary is I can't. You know, move from I can't. Look at what you have, you know, and God is sending you on an assignment. Trust that God is able to make a way and make things happen.
Amazing.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm actually taking mental notes as he's thinking.
We'll have to watch this back again and just make so many notes about
definitely. Thank you for coming and joining us here.
Do you have any final thoughts you want to share or anything else about your journey for Moses?
The final thing I want to share is that we can see a parallel between Moses and Jesus.
Okay.
Moses came to deliver the Israelites from bondage of slavery, but Jesus has come to deliver us from the bondage of sin, over sin.
That's true.
You know, and then of course, just looking at the life of Moses, know that when the Bible says, with God all things are possible, then you can be more convinced that if you are absolutely dependent on God, if you trust in God, it can make things happen that you think would otherwise be impossible or difficult. But it doesn't mean that you would encounter obstacles on the way. Moses had to manifest the 10 plagues before Pharaoh eventually yielded. You know, it's, like you say, it's easy to criticize characters and people. Most people have given up, I've had enough. You know, why do I have to go through? I've done 1 plague, I've done 2, why do I have to go to 10?
Go to 10.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
you know, so it's easy for us to say smoke the rock, but he was patient for 10 plagues. You know, imagine again on their way, saw the sea, and he was still able to believe God and say, okay, God will part this Red Sea. You know, so I think we should look at the life of people and see what lessons we can learn from their life. You know, if we find ourselves in leadership, or God asking us to do one thing or the other.
So good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So if you are like us and you've got so much insight from that and you want to share your thoughts and even just a thank you, Dr. Moses, will be very nice to leave your comments below in the comment section. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up and a like. And if you're also watching this and you feel like moved or you want to get to know more about God, who is God and who is Jesus, and you want to know more about the Christian faith, then feel free to say this prayer, or actually we would like to ask if you're willing. Would you like to say a short prayer for us, for those who are watching as well, just to wrap up? So
I'll just the prayer of prayer is just like I said, for people to know that God is able, that we should not be dependent on our own strength and ability. You know, when we had night vigil yesterday, we were encouraged to learn to ask for the help of the Holy Spirit to do what seems difficult and impossible. So we just want to pray and ask God that as many that have tuned in today, that they will know that God is able. That God promises that He will not leave us, He will not forsake us. He's the one that promised to make a way where there seems to be no way. He's the one that causes rivers to come forth in dry places. And to know that in Him we live and move and we have our being. And is faithful, that has promised.
Amen.
And is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ever think or ask or imagine. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Short and sweet, we like that.
Yes.
Thank you so much again for watching
Thanks
and
for
tuning
watching.
in. Stay tuned for our next video, and we will see you next time.
See you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.